to conclude that women are unfitted to the task of our historic society seems to me the equivalent of closing male lies to female facts. The evils we experience flow from the excess of democracy. The people do not want virtue, but are the dupes of pretended patriots. Russia will not soon become, if it ever becomes, a second copy of the United States or England, where liberal values have deep historic roots. Eclipse of the light of heaven, eclipse of God, such indeed is the character of the historic hour through which the world is now passing. The liberty of the press is not confined to newspapers and periodicals. It necessarily embraces pamphlets and leaflets. It is not enough for a landscape to be interesting in itself. Eventually there must be a moral and historic interest. Hillary Clinton wants to run on the historic nature of her candidacy. I will force her to run on accountability for the Clinton way. Historic in a good sense, not historic in a sense of so he dropped bombs on everyone. The sweet smell of the South, of camellias and azaleas, clings to Beaufort's ancient and historic buildings. Many great horror stories are period pieces and English actors have a facility for historic characters. Goring's ideas betray a consistent desire to create something essentially new, implying all the historic virtues, but unlike anything of the past. Tom Walls and his cohort are wolves in sheep's clothing who will besmirch the memory of some genuine historic figures by the next full moon. We must now view our problems as opportunities, historic opportunities to change the failed systems of the past and do what's right for our future. The media has become more forceful, has begun to recognize its traditional historic role and act on it, and truth is infectious. Never give in except to convictions of honor and good sense. Never yield to force, never yield to the apparently overwhelming might of the enemy. It is a historic step toward eliminating the shameful practice of racial discrimination in the selection of juries. We're out of cocktail olives. It's a tragedy of historic proportions, but we're coping because we're Americans. The handy thing about being a father is that the historic standard is so pitifully low. America has entered one of its periods of historic madness, but this is the worst I can remember. I race historic muscle cars back in Australia, and that's my hobby. And I try to race home as soon as I've finished a movie but don't tell anyone. I am not stonewalling. I am following the historic policies of the Department of Justice. As filmmakers, the Western is a historic, cool thing to be a part of once in your life. Whether every story that's there, in the Bible, is a historic truth. Again, I'm not concerned. The nuclear age has refuted the idea of progress and Marxism has been refuted by Stalinism. Therefore people have returned to the historic religion. The Gorbachev period is conceived as an abandonment of historic Russian positions. So this is the framework, in my view, in which Putin operates. The assassinations of Martin Luther King, Jr., and Robert F. Kennedy led directly to the passage of a historic law, the Gun Control Act of 1968. My worry is that opera will become an historic art form as opposed to a living, breathing thing. We must stop spending money that we just don't have. Historic debt leads to historic tax increases, which stifle job growth. The world is facing a historic turning point because the system of materialistic liberalism has come to a deadlock.